All right, everybody, we got one more nose tackle video to get through for this year, and then we're going to just sit and wait for the draft to play out. Now, while I've already said that I don't think we're going to be drafting a nose tackle this year, and if we do, it certainly won't be like a late round one, like I think that we would either go big or go home. This is interesting because we have apparently met with this guy as a top 30 visit, so we like him. And clearly we can picture some way in which this works. Khristian Boyd of Northern Iowa. We have used a top 30 visit on him. I may speak a little bit more about that down the line, but suffice to say the Seahawks see something they like with Khristian Boyd. 6'4", 317 pounds, so he's actually a little bit on the smaller side for a nose tackle. Almost makes me wonder if we're looking at him in a different lens. Short arms, too. Like, these are really short arms for a nose tackle. 31.25-inch arms, 9.5-inch hands. He did kill the bench press, 99th percentile, almost 40 reps, but that was his pro day, so I don't know. He might have had like helium balloons on the end of the weights. I don't know. But that's cool. But it's also easier to bench press when you have 31.25-inch arms. PFF has him in the late fourth, early fifth range. CBS has him in the fifth. ESPN has him in the seventh. Database has him in the sixth. So everyone who has him getting drafted, but some people have him barely getting drafted. He's been productive over the last 2 years. 68 tackles, 3.5 for loss, 3.5 sacks, 2 passes defense, or 3 passes defense, a couple forced fumbles. Excellent PFF grades over the last 2 years. So been a consistently solid defender, a part of that Northern Iowa front. You're forgiven if you haven't seen any of their games, but he was good for them. He has a lot of power when he launches off the snap. When he gets out of his stance and takes those couple of steps and impacts the blocker, it hits with some pop. So he's got a lot of power in his ability to get off that ball. He's got strong punches as well. His punches hit hard and do a lot to generate wins in the trenches against offensive linemen. Even though he's a little bit on the taller side, he understands how to sink his hips, get low, win leverage. And that's obviously a big part of excelling as a nose tackle or a defensive lineman of any kind. He's really hard to move when he roots down and anchors. You're not going to move him off the spot easily. He is going to get down, and you're not going to be able to move him. So even though he's a little bit smaller, he does bring these nose tackle-like qualities. And not only does he have a lot of power in his pop, he's explosive off the snap. He gets out of his stance quickly and goes. So that's the good stuff. The not so great stuff would be he doesn't have any pass rush moves. Like maybe he'll do a little bit of bull rushing, but that's about it. He doesn't have quickness. He doesn't have agility. He's not going to be maneuvering around the field. He's not going to be covering a lot of ground. He's not going to be twisting or stunting. He's going to play in a phone booth most of the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you don't want him to be moving. You want him to be stout in the middle. But he's not going to really be able to do any of that stuff. His short arm length is a warning signal, I think. Given how he played in college, given how much he depended on things like winning leverage and being hard to move and his punches, I don't know how well this works if his arms are really this short. So I I don't know about this one. This one's tough. Like the bench press is nice, but again, it's easier to bench press when your arms are short. So is that meaningful? Should we read anything into that? I don't know. And it's a small school guy too. It's tough to read into it. So I kind of go seventh rounder here. I can't go any higher than seventh round given how short his arms are and the fact that he brings nothing to the table as a pass rusher, really. He's got 3.5 sacks over the last 2 years playing for Northern Iowa. You're not playing the best of the best there, ever. So, I don't know. Maybe we're looking at him and imagining him as like an early down defensive end. But even then, it's like the arm length is a killer to me. I don't want to get too caught up in that, but it makes me wonder, is any of this stuff going to work at the pros when you're going up against a bunch of offensive linemen that have arms that are 2 to 3 inches longer than yours? So, not super into it, but I do think he's draftable. One more nose tackle, and then we're going to be done for not only this video, but for this year of evaluating nose tackles for the draft. Evan Anderson of Florida Atlantic. I think they're the Owls or something, the Florida Atlantic Owls. Not 100% sure about that. 6 feet flat, so he's short, 319 pounds. So, I mean, he looks bigger than that because he's so short. He's got a lot of weight per inch, I guess you could say. 32.5 inch arms, 9.25 inch hands. So the measurements are kind of seventh rounder according to most of the sources. It looks like he'll be a borderline pick. Makes a lot of plays, actually, for a bigger defensive lineman. 100 tackles. Now, I skipped 2022 because he missed most of that season, so over the last 2 years, he actually played most of the year. 100 total tackles, 13.5 for loss, 4.5 sacks, 2 passes defense, good PFF grade, so he's actually putting up numbers beyond what most guys like this do. So he's hard to move off his spot when he anchors down. Once he gets those legs planted, he's going to be hard to move out of the hole. He's got a little bit of explosiveness, which actually does translate to a little bit of a pass rush. He is able to actually shoot gaps and actually able to cause some penetration with his pop. He might be bigger than these measurements, by the way. These measurements I got from Draft Buzz, and there are some other sources like PFF that think he's like 360 pounds and 6'3". And I don't know why there's such a big discrepancy, but if we could get an official ruling on Evan Anderson's size, that'd be great because everything changes if he's actually 350, 360. So that's a little bit of upside to keep in mind here, but I can't confirm it one way or the other. I can't go to his house with a scale. He launches quickly off the snap as well. He's got good explosiveness with his first step. Issues would be the short arms, limits his effectiveness at the next level. While he does offer a little bit of pass rush, there's no real pass rush moves. It's just like his first step quickness and burst. He doesn't have any counter moves. He doesn't have any ability to like win a battle. He just kind of goes, and sometimes he gets in because he's explosive. And he doesn't have the quickness to chase down plays. Not that you necessarily need that, but he is kind of the nose tackle that you imagine. He is kind of a prototypical nose tackle, which is why it's a big deal, his weight, and why I'd like to know if he's actually 350 plus. But he's missed a good amount of time over the last couple years. The short arms are concerning, especially given the fact that he'll probably be trying to do nose tackle stuff. So how excited are we going to be? He's a run stuffer, and he's another guy who played for a relatively small school, Florida Atlantic. So I'll say 6th round. I like him a little bit more than Boyd, but I'm not super enthused about either. I will change my tune if it comes out that he's actually like 350 and 6'3" or something. If that's the case, I feel like that changes the narrative a little bit. Now his lack of pass rush is more understandable, and he's more likely to be able to find success at the NFL level. All right, so that's it for nose tackles this year, guys. Let me know what you think. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. More videos coming later, but that's another position down for this draft.